Listen closely, for in the theatre of human relations, betrayal is the cruelest play. Hidden behind the mask of friendship, it strikes when you are most vulnerable. To navigate this world wisely, you must become a master of perception, discerning the shadows beneath the smiles. Beware the honeyed tongue and the warm embrace that seem too good to be true. Excessive affection is often the veil that shrouds a dagger. When kindness flows not from the heart but from calculation, it is a warning bell ringing faintly. Listen well, for what is offered freely may be a trap set with deliberate care. Observe the dance of words and actions. Are promises kept, or do they scatter like leaves in the wind? When a person's words falter and their actions contradict, they reveal the fractures of loyalty. The soul of betrayal lies in inconsistency. Trust is not blind, it is earned in steadfastness. The gravest sign of all is when self-interest reigns supreme. When the desires of one's own gain overshadow the sanctity of bonds, betrayal becomes inevitable. Remember this: the heart that beats for itself alone will, without hesitation, turn on those who once stood beside it. In this there is no malice, only the harsh law of nature, where survival is paramount. But know this: to guard against betrayal is not to live in fear or mistrust, but to embrace wisdom. The greatest strength is the clarity to see the signs before the wound is dealt. When you understand the motives, the masks, and the inconsistencies, you arm yourself with resilience. Do not seek to change the traitor, but change how you engage with the world. Hold your trust as a precious resource, granted with discernment. For in the end, betrayal teaches us not only to beware others, but to cultivate within ourselves a vigilance and strength that no treachery can shatter. The first warning sign of betrayal is the presence of deceptive affection, an affection so exaggerated, so unnaturally sweet, that it demands suspicion rather than trust. This kind of kindness is not born from genuine warmth or loyalty, but from a calculated effort to disarm and manipulate. When someone surrounds you with compliments, favors, and attention that seem excessive or poorly timed, it is crucial to pause and question their true intentions. Genuine kindness flows naturally and consistently, whereas deceptive affection is a performance designed to ensnare. People who intend to betray often understand the power of soft words and gentle gestures. They know that trust is not given lightly, and so they create a facade of closeness and goodwill to lower your guard. Their smiles may appear sincere, but behind them lurks the cold calculation of someone seeking advantage. They play on your emotions, making you feel valued and safe, while quietly gathering information or influence that they will one day use against you. It is a slow erosion of trust, masked by what seems to be friendship. This false affection is a strategic weapon. It can take many forms: excessive flattery that feels over the top, constant offers of help that seem to create a sense of obligation, or sudden bursts of warmth that come at inconvenient times. Each act is deliberate, intended to create a sense of dependence or gratitude. They might remind you of your strengths and dreams, encouraging you to open up, while all the while recording your vulnerabilities for their own use. This duplicity is not impulsive. It is a cold and precise effort to cultivate influence. It is essential to understand the difference between sincere connection and manipulative affection. Genuine kindness does not come with strings attached. It remains steady even when it offers no clear benefit to the giver. Manipulative kindness, on the other hand, is transactional, always seeking to extract something in return, often without your immediate awareness. It is a mask that hides the truth, and only by cultivating discernment can you see past it. Deceptive affection preys on our basic human desire for acceptance and love. It plays into our hope that people around us want the best for us. When someone lavishes you with praise or concern, Your guard naturally lowers because your emotions are engaged. This vulnerability is what betrayers count on. They understand that to betray someone who is wary is difficult. To betray someone who trusts blindly is effortless. They engineer situations to inspire that blind trust. This warning sign teaches a harsh lesson about the nature of trust itself. Trust is not a gift to be given lightly, nor is it a prize awarded for mere appearances. It is a careful judgment based on consistent truth, proven over time. When the sweetness of affection is suddenly overwhelming or too good to be true, it signals that you must look beneath the surface. Ask yourself, is this affection consistent? Does it respect my boundaries and independence? Or does it feel like a calculated lure? The emotional impact of falling prey to deceptive affection is profound. The initial warmth, the sense of closeness, creates a powerful bond. When betrayal finally reveals itself, it shatters not only the trust, but also the emotional safety you believed you had built. The sting is sharper because you were made to feel valued, even loved. The wound cuts deeper because it was opened by a hand you once held. This experience teaches that affection, no matter how sweet, is not enough. It must be matched by integrity. In the broader human experience, deceptive affection is a reminder of the complex dance of power and vulnerability. To survive in social and political realms, many learn to cloak ambition and desire in a cloak of warmth. They cultivate a persona that invites trust while secretly serving self-interest. This duality is not rare. It is the norm in many arenas where influence is currency. The wise do not simply accept affection at face value, but see it as one piece of a larger puzzle. Recognizing deceptive affection requires emotional intelligence and self-awareness. It requires you to observe patterns rather than isolated actions. When kindness fluctuates wildly, when favors come with subtle pressure, or when compliments are used to mask criticism or manipulation, it is a red flag. Your emotional response, whether it be a sense of unease or confusion, should not be ignored. Often our instincts detect what our mind has yet to fully understand. Deceptive affection is a form of betrayal disguised as love or friendship. It weaponizes the very human need for connection to prepare the ground for future treachery. The presence of this warning sign is an invitation to cultivate prudence, to hold your heart with care, and to seek relationships grounded in authenticity rather than performance. Only by seeing through the veneer of false affection can you protect yourself from the pain and consequences of betrayal. The second warning sign that someone may betray you lies in the inconsistency between their words and actions. This dissonance reveals a fractured foundation of trust, for loyalty is not simply declared but demonstrated repeatedly through steady behavior. When promises are made but not kept, when commitments dissolve like smoke in the wind, the person's true character is slowly unveiled. Actions are the truest reflection of intent, and when they fail to align with spoken assurances, it is a clear signal that the allegiance they profess is fragile or false. Inconsistent behavior creates confusion and uncertainty, undermining the very basis of trust. One day, the person might speak with conviction, offering support or allegiance. The next, their actions suggest disinterest, avoidance, or even opposition. This shifting behavior is not merely forgetfulness or poor judgment. It is a symptom of a deeper divide between appearance and reality. Such a person may carefully craft words to please or manipulate, but their actions reveal their priorities and loyalties. Over time, this inconsistency erodes confidence, leaving you to question not only their intentions, but also your own judgment. The danger of this inconsistency is that it breeds a false sense of security. People who rely on words alone create a mirage, a tempting illusion of trustworthiness that disappears when tested by circumstance. It is easy to be swayed by promises, especially when they align with our hopes and desires. But trust is not built on promises alone. It is forged through repeated proof in moments both easy and difficult. When a person fails to uphold their word, especially in challenging times, the cracks in their loyalty widen. This disconnect between word and deed is often a calculated strategy. The betrayer uses flattering language and vows of fidelity to gain your confidence while preparing to act contrary to your interests. Their shifting actions serve to keep you off balance, unsure of where you stand or what to expect. This uncertainty is a powerful tool, as it distracts and weakens your ability to defend against their eventual betrayal. It is a manipulation of trust through ambiguity, leaving you vulnerable and exposed. Emotional turmoil accompanies this inconsistency. The mind struggles to reconcile the person's kind words with their cold or absent actions, creating internal conflict and doubt. You may find yourself making excuses for their behavior, clinging to the hope that they will live up to their promises. This emotional investment makes the eventual betrayal more painful and disorienting. The inconsistency becomes a slow poison, weakening your resolve and clouding your perception of reality. The lesson here is that words, no matter how eloquent or heartfelt, are hollow without consistent actions to support them. True loyalty is not proclaimed in grand speeches or flattering declarations. It is shown in the daily choices and sacrifices one makes for another. When the actions contradict the words, it reveals a lack of integrity and a willingness to deceive. To ignore this warning sign is to invite betrayal into your life. Observing this inconsistency requires vigilance and a keen eye for detail. It means paying attention not only to what is said, but also to what is done, or left undone. It means noting when promises are repeatedly broken or delayed without explanation, when commitments are made in moments of convenience but abandoned when difficulty arises. The pattern of behavior, rather than isolated incidents, reveals the truth about a person's loyalty. Inconsistency often signals a divided loyalty or hidden agenda. When actions contradict words, it may be because the person is balancing competing interests, perhaps serving another master or prioritizing personal gain over your well-being. This internal conflict manifests externally as unpredictable behavior. Understanding this helps you see that their betrayal is not a sudden act, but the culmination of conflicting priorities that have been present all along. This warning sign also teaches a critical principle about human nature and relationships. Trust is fragile and must be protected through evidence, not hope. It challenges the notion that people naturally act in accordance with their promises. Instead, it reveals the reality that many cloak their true intentions behind pleasant words, only to reveal a different self through their actions. This gap between words and deeds is the fertile ground in which betrayal grows. The emotional weight of recognizing this inconsistency is heavy. It forces you to confront uncomfortable truths about those you care for and challenges your faith in human goodness. Yet, it is this painful clarity that grants you strength. By seeing the disparity between what is said and what is done, you gain the power to act before the betrayal is complete. You learn to value actions above words, grounding your trust in what is proven rather than what is promised. The inconsistency of words and actions is a mirror held up to one's character. It reveals the true allegiance of those around you and warns you to tread carefully. To survive the inevitable challenges of trust, one must cultivate discernment and not be swayed by rhetoric alone. Loyalty is a living thing, shown through deeds, and when it falters there, betrayal is not far behind. The third warning sign that betrayal is imminent lies in the clear and unyielding prioritization of self, interest above all else. When an individual places their own desires, ambitions, and gains above the bonds of loyalty, respect, and honor, the seeds of betrayal are already sown deep within their heart. Self-interest, when left unchecked and unbalanced by conscience or integrity, becomes a powerful force that drives a person to sacrifice relationships and values without hesitation. This selfishness signals that their allegiance is not to you or the collective good, but solely to their own advancement or survival. People who put themselves first operate by a ruthless logic. Loyalty is conditional, and relationships are mere tools for personal gain. Their decisions are guided not by mutual respect or shared values, but by what benefits them most in the moment or in the long run. This mindset transforms friendships and alliances into transactions, where trust is extended only as long as it serves their interests. When the scales tip and another path offers greater reward or safety, they do not hesitate to abandon what was once sacred. This is not necessarily born of malice, but of a cold calculation where self-preservation outweighs all else. The reality of human nature is that self-interest is a natural and necessary force. Everyone pursues their own well-being to some degree, and this is neither surprising nor inherently wrong. However, the difference lies in whether that pursuit respects the social contract of loyalty and honor or tramples it for personal advantage. Those who betray make a deliberate choice to elevate self-interest beyond moral or social boundaries. Their actions reflect a prioritization of success, power, or security over the trust and feelings of others. The emotional toll of recognizing this sign is profound. To see someone you value act with such calculated selfishness can feel like a deep wound. It challenges your belief in the mutual respect and care that underpins human connection. It can leave you questioning whether loyalty and honor are illusions in a world governed by self-interest. Yet, understanding this warning sign allows you to confront reality without naivety. It teaches that trust is a fragile and precious commodity, vulnerable to those who view it only as a stepping stone. The elevation of self-interest also manifests in subtle ways before outright betrayal occurs. It may show itself in the gradual erosion of shared sacrifices or the slow withdrawal of support when personal costs increase. It appears in decisions made without consultation or regard for the impact on others, reflecting a world you centered on what's best for me, rather than what's best for us. These signs accumulate, revealing a person whose loyalty is conditional and whose ultimate allegiance is to themselves. This warning sign calls for vigilance because it is often hidden behind a mask of civility or even apparent friendship. A person may speak of commitment and shared goals while quietly prioritizing their own needs and ambitions. They may appear reliable and supportive in public, but act differently when private interests are at stake. This duplicity is particularly dangerous because it creates a false sense of security, allowing betrayal to develop unnoticed until it is too late. The dominance of self-interest over loyalty is not only a moral failing but also a strategic weakness. Those who betray often find that their pursuit of personal gain isolates them, damaging their reputation and relationships in the long run. Yet, in the short term, this ruthless pragmatism can yield significant advantages. making betrayal a tempting tool for those who lack scruples. Recognizing this pattern enables you to anticipate their moves and protect yourself accordingly. The practical lesson embedded in this warning sign is to scrutinize the motivations behind the actions of those around you. Observe whether their decisions consistently consider the welfare of others or whether they skew heavily toward self-benefit. Notice how they behave when loyalty demands sacrifice or inconvenience. Those who flinch or retreat in such moments reveal where their true priorities lie. Trusting someone whose loyalty is transactional is a risk that can lead to profound disappointment. This focus on self-interest also sheds light on a deeper truth about human relationships. They are inherently fragile and contingent on mutual respect and shared values. When these are absent, betrayal is not a matter of chance but of inevitability. Understanding that some will place themselves first, regardless of the consequences for others, equips you to navigate these relationships with caution and clarity. It is important to balance this recognition with compassion, for both yourself and others. Betrayal rooted in self-interest is painful, but it also reflects the complexity of human motives and survival instincts. It is not always a calculated evil, but sometimes the result of fear, desperation, or ambition. Still, knowing this does not require acceptance of betrayal. Instead, it demands awareness and preparedness. The dominance of self-interest as a warning sign teaches a crucial lesson about trust and vigilance. It reminds you to look beyond surface loyalty and flattering words, to assess the true priorities and values that drive behavior. By understanding this, you arm yourself with the wisdom to protect your interests, to avoid misplaced trust, and to build relationships that are anchored in genuine mutual respect, rather than mere convenience or advantage. Awareness and prudence are the shields that guard against the sting of betrayal, and they stand as a critical warning sign in their own right. To cultivate a vigilant mind and a discerning heart is not a mark of cynicism, but the wisdom necessary to survive in a world where not all intentions are pure. This awareness is the ability to see beyond appearances and to read the subtle signals that others may overlook or dismiss. It is a skill born of experience, reflection, and a refusal to be blinded by wishful thinking or naive trust. Prudence demands that you do not rush to trust, nor do you accept affection or loyalty at face value. It compels you to test and observe over time, recognizing that true allegiance reveals itself not in moments of ease, but in trials and challenges. This careful judgment is not born from suspicion alone, but from a deep understanding of human nature and the complexities of motive. Those who fail to develop this awareness open themselves to manipulation because they have not learned to read the hidden language of intentions. This vigilant attitude involves paying close attention to patterns rather than isolated incidents. A single act of kindness or betrayal may be a fluke or a misunderstanding. A pattern, however, reveals character. Watching how a person behaves consistently across situations, when they have everything to gain or everything to lose, provides critical insight. Prudence calls for the courage to acknowledge uncomfortable truths and the patience to gather evidence before making judgments. It is a form of emotional intelligence that protects the heart from unnecessary harm. The emotional dimension of awareness and prudence is significant. It requires balancing openness with caution, remaining receptive to connection while guarding against vulnerability that can be exploited. This balance is delicate because it asks you to hold your heart lightly without closing it off. To be too guarded is to miss the richness of genuine relationships. To be too trusting is to risk betrayal. Wisdom lies in navigating this tension with clarity and resolve. Being aware and prudent also means understanding your own weaknesses and biases. Often, betrayal succeeds because we ignore warning signs that clash with our desires or fears. We want to believe the best in others, especially those close to us, and this desire can blind us to evidence that calls for caution. Cultivating awareness involves confronting these internal tendencies and choosing to act from a place of clear-eyed reality rather than hope or fear. This warning sign also encompasses the importance of setting boundaries and holding others accountable. Awareness teaches that trust is not an all or nothing gamble, but a dynamic process that requires negotiation and clarity. When you demand consistency and respect for your boundaries, you create a standard that discourages betrayal. Prudence is the discipline to enforce these standards without apology, knowing that protecting your well-being is an act of self-respect. Awareness and prudence extend beyond personal relationships to understanding the broader context in which trust and betrayal unfold. Human interactions are shaped by power dynamics, incentives, and external pressures that influence behavior. Being aware means recognizing these forces and how they may drive others to betray even those they care for. It is a reminder that betrayal is often a symptom of larger conflicts, not just individual failings. The practical benefits of cultivating awareness and prudence are immense. They enable you to avoid unnecessary pain and disappointment by identifying and distancing yourself from those whose loyalty is questionable. They empower you to make strategic decisions about whom to trust, when to share, and when to hold back. This mindset transforms vulnerability from a liability into a controlled risk, allowing for meaningful relationships without surrendering your safety. This approach fosters resilience. When you are aware and prudent, betrayal, though painful, does not devastate you because you have prepared your mind and heart. You understand that betrayal is a reflection of the betrayer's character, not your worth. This realization softens the blow and opens the door to healing and growth. Awareness becomes a source of strength, allowing you to move forward with lessons learned rather than scars that fester. Awareness and prudence are the wisdom of self-preservation and emotional intelligence combined. They remind us that trust is precious and must be guarded with care. They teach that seeing the truth, even when uncomfortable, is a gift that protects us from deeper wounds. By embracing this vigilance, you empower yourself to build relationships founded on genuine respect and loyalty, while avoiding the pitfalls of deception and betrayal.